Speaking of Timmins is proud to present our 2014 Candidates for Council interview series. Welcome everybody to Speaking of Timmins. My name is Frank Rock and our guest today is Jessica Trudel, who is a candidate in Ward 5 in the upcoming municipal elections. Jessica, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, your background, and what led you to run for council in 2014?
Absolutely. I am currently running my own business, so that is obviously a important leadership thing there. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you see a lot of things that go on in the city, and you see a lot of red tape and the things that need to be improved in order to make business more viable. So I run Coastal Communications. I'm also the president of Porcupine Toastmasters, which is a public speaking and leadership group here in town. They're celebrating their 25th anniversary this year. So for that, I have a lot of public speaking experience, and I know how to think on my feet, which is really important when you're sitting around a council table and a debate comes up and you have to fight for what the people want. I was a graduate of Northern College. I took a business, and as an alumni, I joined the Alumni Association executive team. So through that, I helped to make sure that the alumni stay connected with the college, so that they can show not just in town, but when they leave town, because unfortunately people do end up leaving town for jobs, that they can advocate for Timmins and for Northern College outside of our community, which I think is really important. And besides that, I, in general, am a strong advocate for Timmins in general. I'm constantly on social media, bringing up subjects for debate, that sort of thing. I'd like to debate subjects. I think it's really important to talk about ideas and refine them through debate, because sometimes we accept the first response that comes out because it sounds like a good idea, and it is a good idea. But it could be a better idea if we took a few minutes to talk about it and discuss it and refine it into something that's even better. So those are some of the ways that I am already a leader in town.
What do you believe should be the top 2 or 3 priorities for the new council?
There's a lot of issues to tackle. There's a lot of problems that need to be fixed. And sometimes the order of that is really difficult to determine. But I feel that ultimately, a lot of our problems stem from the fact that people in the city are not proud to be residents of the city. Like when crime rates go up, when there's graffiti and litter, and when houses are crumbling and storefronts don't look good, and those sorts of things usually stem from a general sentiment of negativity, which I feel is a major issue in Timmins. And people are very upset about the condition of our roads and the housing situation and poverty, and these are all major issues that we can't solve overnight. But ultimately, all of that resentment towards the city causes all of these other problems, and it just spirals downward into more and more negativity and more problems. So I think what we really need to do is to focus on those things that can bring that pride back to our community, starting first with regaining the trust of the people, because right now people don't trust the city. There's been a few issues in recent years and even over many, many decades that have caused people to distrust the city. So we need to regain that trust first before we can even begin to hope to get that pride back. And then from there, I think that it's important to build our arts and culture community, make sure that people have access to all the great recreational activities and events and things that are going on, in order to be able to slowly rebuild that pride, and in turn be able to get people involved in running events and picking up their own garbage and not being negative and spreading negative ideas constantly. So it's really hard to say what to tackle first, but I think that ultimately we really need to start rebuilding that trust and rebuilding that pride if we're going to be able to get the community engagement we need to tackle all the big issues.
If elected, what priority would you like to see addressed in Ward 5 specifically?
There really isn't an issue that's Ward 5 specific, because Ward 5 is such a big ward. It covers so much of the city and so much of the community and all of the things that are part of it. So I don't necessarily think that there's a Ward 5 specific issue, but certainly when it comes to housing, if we're going to start infilling or increasing our urban density, then a lot of that's going to happen, downtown, and it's not going to happen out in the suburbs. So that is as close to being Ward 5 specific as possible. And that certainly is something that we need to start doing. We need to start raising our tax base, not by continuing to spread outward, because by continuing to spread outward, we just have that many more roads to take care of and that much more money to spend on garbage collection and so on. So we really need to focus on inwards and increasing our urban density in order to be able to collect more taxes per meter or kilometer, however they calculate that.
Many candidates and taxpayers in this campaign have spoken about this being an election of change. What changes would you like to see on council and at City Hall?
First and foremost, I would like to see major communications changes happen. As a communications professional myself, I find it extremely appalling that it's so difficult to get information from the city, and that the information that the community spreads isn't managed more. I'm in public relations, and I think a lot of the negativity that spreads is part of just not managing that information well and not communicating clearly with the community what needs to be done. So for me, I'd really like to first see the city follow through on one of the projects in the Timmins 2020 plan, which is two-way communication between the city and its residents. I know that they started working on it, and I feel like they did make an effort to address it, but they really didn't fully get there. And there's just so many things that can be done to better communicate with the public. And communication is just such a huge part of who we are, and in our daily lives that we can't just ignore it.
Ward 5 includes the downtown core, and many business people operating in that part of town are wondering what the new council will try to do to increase the amount of traffic in the downtown core.
That's a really good question. I've actually been posting ideas and suggestions for ways to improve things throughout the city on my Facebook page. I started counting down at day 50 before Election Day, and I've been counting down roughly one a day since then. And I did address some suggested changes in the downtown core while I was doing that. Certainly, traffic flow is an important thing. I was actually really happy that they put in the stop signs, and I know that's a really contentious issue and that people are concerned about safety and so on, but I found that the stop signs deterred people from cutting through downtown just to avoid the lights, because on 3rd they were usually timed better than Algonquin, so people would cut through there, and that was more of a safety issue in my mind. I'd like to see the stop signs stay long enough so that people can get used to them, because right now people are still confused because they're flashing red at one point, there are stop signs at another point, then there's stop signs on one street and red light the next one, and it's very confusing. So I believe the city has decided to put the lights back in. I would have liked to see the stop signs stay personally, but traffic flow is really important. So I think we need to really look at the one-way options for 3rd and 2nd. We need to definitely look at how the parking is handled. We certainly can do. There's new versions of parking meters that can be used, and yes, it costs money to install new versions, but if it can help people in the long run, I know that one thing I looked at was, I believe in Vancouver, they have you can pay for your meter with your phone, and then when you walk away, you get an alert on your phone letting you know when your meter's almost out, and you can refill it right from your phone. People are always complaining about getting parking tickets downtown. Well, part of the problem is in the dead of winter, if you're at a business meeting, you're not going to get up in the middle of it to go feed your meter. So these are little things that we can look at implementing. I'm not saying definitely put in new meters. We'd want to look at the cost. We want to look at the cost benefit ratio, but certainly there's things that we can do to improve traffic flow and to make parking more feasible, and once all of those things are addressed, then, people are going to feel more comfortable, first of all, being downtown, because right now people just aren't even comfortable being there because it's just so awkward all of the time. We have great businesses downtown. We have lots of arts and culture things available, stores, and, we have art gallery. We have all kinds of things downtown, but people don't know about them or can't really get to them because of the fact that it's just so hard to get through downtown.
Now it's time for our rapid fire questions, where we get to know the candidates a little better outside of their political opinions. What book should every person read in their lifetime?
I'm going to go with Great Expectations. It's like a precursor to Seinfeld, and you can't understand that comment unless you read the book.
What has been your favorite travel destination?
Well, I haven't traveled that much, I've got to say, but I did go to Edmonton several years ago, and not only was it fun, getting to go to Jasper National Park and a few other things, but it was enlightening from a perspective of seeing how another city does things, and it gave me a lot of ideas for Timmins, actually. So I'd say that one.
What one or two items would people be surprised to see on your bucket list?
Most people probably wouldn't realize that I like tattoos. Most probably wouldn't think that I even have any. So perhaps getting more tattoos would be a surprise for most people. But it's an art thing.
And that concludes this episode of the 2014 Candidates for Council interview series presented by Speaking of Timmins.